Young and Restless early spoilers December 15th to 19th. Nikki catches Victor red-handed. Lies shattered. On Wednesday, December 10th, we've got Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, telling Kyle Abbott, Michael Mueller, that he's glad his dad John Abbott, Jerry Douglas, doesn't have to see them shutting down Jabot because of this AI issue. But Kyle thinks that they are ready for Victor. And Kyle tells Jack that Claire Grace Newman, Haley Aaron, has some issues with Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, and that there's more simmering tension there. And Kyle thinks Audra actually might be the key to him winning back Claire, which is kind of interesting. Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, and Sally Spectra, Courtney Hope, get ready for the AbbottCom launch party. They're doing some last-minute prep work before they get dressed and show up. Billy is really excited to be her second-in-command. He thinks Sally is going to kill it at the party and running the company. And she tells Billy that they're going to show all their haters what they can do. Audra shows up to check in on the pre-party work, wishes them success, and brings Sally a gift. And she promises Audra that she still plans to hire her as soon as she can talk the investor into it. YandR spoilers, Kyle and at it again. Jack and Kyle show up to also check in before the party. And Sally wants to know if Audra is going to show up to the big event. And Kyle says Audra should absolutely be there because Sally is her only friend. So Kyle and Audra wind up bickering, and Audra snarks about Claire dumping him, and Kyle's hinting that they reconciled. Audra says she may be at the party or she may not, and she takes off. Jack tells Billy that he really likes the AbbottCom logo, and they talk about Victor possibly being a threat to AbbottCom, but Sally says they've taken precautions against the AI. And Jack tells Billy, Jason Thompson, that Diane Jenkins, Susan Walters, had the Jabot tech team set up AI intrusion alerts that will trace any incursion into their system back to its source. So, it looks like Diane's plan continues to be to get proof to prosecute Victor for cybercrimes. And Kyle loves that idea. I love that idea too. Newman family bombshell. Matt Clark's shocking return on Young and the Restless. The Newmans are all back from Los Angeles. And Nikki, Melody Thomas Scott, hugs Noah Newman, Rory Gibson. Glad that he is alive and well after that near-death car crash. Victor warns Sienna that she is welcome there on the ranch, but he's got his eye on her. So Nikki introduces Noah to Claire, who of course she was there when he was in a coma, but they didn't get to meet. And he introduces Sienna as his friend. That's in quotes, right? Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, and Chelsea Lawson Newman, Melissa Claire Egan, show up. They get to meet Sienna, too, and greet Noah. Then Victor drops the bombshell that Matt Clark is alive, and Sienna admits that's her husband, but she thought his name was Mitch. Nikki is absolutely stunned. Chelsea's clueless because she doesn't know the Matt Clark story. So Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, fills her in and Noah reveals that Matt's the one who ran him off the road and nearly killed him. So Sharon's worried that Matt's going to show up in Genoa City to try and kill Noah again. YandR spoilers, Nikki spies on Victor. So Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, Sharon and Noah head out. And then Chelsea asks Victor if Noah's involved with Sienna, but Victor's a little vague about it. And then Nikki asks Victor to tell her what he's up to, and he says nothing and tells Nikki that she needs to stop worrying about this. Adam and Chelsea, Melissa Claire Egan, are planning to attend the AbbottCom launch party, but Nikki's not sure if she'll go. So, Victor and Adam discuss unleashing the AI on Jabot once they're alone. And they confirm they're going to do it while everybody's at the launch party. Victor is very smug and talking about how he's going to destroy Jack tonight, and Nikki eavesdrops and hears all of this. But then Michael Baldwin, Christian Jules LeBlanc, calls to say that Jabot has shut down and they are no longer at risk from the AI because they've shut down their servers or whatnot. This is all terrible writing. Genoa City on high alert, new alliances and rising tensions. Sharon takes Sienna and Noah home with her. Sienna likes how close the Newmans are, and she's glad that Sharon's letting her stay there until Matt's locked up. Noah says the ranch is the safest place to be. I disagree. Jordan Howard, Colleen Zenk, snuck into the ranch. Ian Ward, Ray Wise, snuck into the ranch. Cameron Kirsten, Lyndon Ashby, snuck into the ranch. You guys get the idea, right? So of course Matt can sneak onto the ranch. Nick drags Noah away to talk about security precautions in case Matt shows up in Genoa City. And Sharon tells Sienna that she's not holding what Matt did against her, but she wants to get some things straight. And Nick and Noah head over to the GCAC to rent a room under his and Sienna's name to throw Matt off the trail if he comes to Genoa City. So they run into Audra and she and Noah, Rory Gibson, swap some looks. She was not expecting to see her ex back in town on Young and the Restless. On Thursday, December 11th, we've got Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, telling Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, she's going to go to the YandRCom launch party, but thinks it's going to be boring. So he offers to go with Lily to make things more fun, and she ends up having a change of heart about Kane. So she may be impressed to hear that he cut Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, out of his life. Audra strikes a bargain with Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, on Thursday, and I'm sure this is about their dirty secret past. And Sharon is grilling Sienna about what are her intentions with Noah. Friday's Young and the Restless spoilers. Protective instincts and party problems. On Friday, December 12th, we've got Nick making a move to protect Sharon. We've already seen Nick taking preventative measures like amping up security. I wonder if he's going to move into Sharon's house to protect her. That would be nice because we need Nick and Sharon to get this reunion on the road and actually do a little something, have a little sexy time, right? Lily listens as Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, opens up and he may be venting about Audra or his growing feelings for Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, and Phyllis annoys Kane. And obviously Phyllis is planning to attend the YandRCom launch party, so I'm sure she'll be all up in his face. She's playing with fire, and I think she's going to get burned soon, and I'm not going to feel bad for her. Next week on Young and the Restless, AI threats, budding romance, and lingering dangers. The week of December 15th through the 19th, Sienna and Noah's bond intensifies as they get closer. I don't think that Matt or the Newmans, either one, is going to tear them apart. But Noah's going to have to bite the bullet and call Aling Gwyn, Kelsey Wong, and break things off because now that Noah has brought Sienna to Genoa City, Jack's going to find out, and he's going to tell Allie if Noah doesn't do it himself. Kane prepares his Phyllis takedown plan. And I do wonder if Victor is going to turn the AI on Sally and Billy's company instead, since he can't attack Jabot right now. And I certainly hope that Diane has given Sally that tracer software. Because I want to see Victor busted. Chandeliers of the ranch usually cast a warm, inviting glow over the Newman estate. But tonight, the light felt clinical, harsh enough to expose every fracture in a 30-year-old foundation. Nikki Newman stood at the top of the grand staircase, her hand gripping the mahogany railing so tightly her knuckles turned white. Below, in the sunken living room, the man she had loved, loathed, and married more times than she cared to count was standing by the fireplace. Victor Newman looked every bit the titan of industry, swirling a rare vintage scotch, his back to the stairs. But he wasn't alone. The shadow in the room. Across from him stood a woman Nikki didn't recognize. A sleek, sharp-featured professional holding a thick manila envelope. "Is it done?" Victor's voice, that unmistakable baritone rasp, cut through the silence of the house. "The signatures are forged, Victor," the woman replied, her voice low and urgent. "The offshore accounts are shielded. By the time the board realizes the acquisition was a shell game, the money will be long gone. But Nikki, if she finds out you used her personal trust to fund the initial buyout, she'll never forgive you." Nikki felt the air leave her lungs as if she'd been struck. It wasn't just a business deal. It wasn't even a typical mustache power move. It was personal. He had reached into the one thing she considered her own, her security, her independence, and used it as a pawn in his never-ending war for legacy. The confrontation. Nikki didn't creep back to her room to cry. That wasn't the Newman way. She smoothed her silk robe, lifted her chin, and descended the stairs. Each click of her heels on the marble was a countdown. Victor turned, his eyes narrowing, the mask of the doting husband snapping into place with practiced ease. "Nikki, my darling, you're up late. I was just finishing some late-night business with an associate." The stranger looked away, tucking the envelope under her arm. "I'll take my leave, Mr. Newman." "Stay," Nikki commanded. The word was a whip crack. She walked directly into Victor's personal space, ignoring the scent of expensive tobacco and cedar that usually comforted her. She looked at the envelope, then back at the man who claimed to be her protector. "The signatures are forged, Victor," she quoted, her voice trembling with a lethal mix of heartbreak and rage. "My trust fund? You used me to bankroll a lie. The shattered pedestal." Victor didn't flinch. He never flinched. "Nikki, you don't understand the complexities of this move. I am protecting our family's future. I am securing the empire for our children. Don't you dare hide behind Nick and Victoria." Nikki shouted, the sound echoing off the high ceilings. "You didn't do this for them. You did this because you cannot stand to lose, even if it means stealing from the woman who sleeps beside you. You looked me in the eye at dinner, toasted to our new chapter. And all the while you were signing my name to a fraud. I would have paid it back tenfold." Victor stepped toward her, reaching for her shoulders. "I have always taken care of you, Nikki. Always." She recoiled as if his touch were acid. Taking care of me is not the same as respecting me, Victor. You treat me like a beautiful piece of art in your gallery, something to be admired, maintained, and occasionally leveraged when the market turns. The breaking point. The stranger slipped out the front door, sensing the impending explosion. Left alone, the silence between the Newmans grew heavy and suffocating. For decades they had played this game. He would keep a secret, she would discover it, they would fight, and eventually, he would buy her a diamond the size of a postage stamp or fly her to Paris, and the wound would scab over. But this felt different. This wasn't a secret about a long-lost child or a corporate rival. This was a violation of the soul. "You've lied to me before," Nikki said, her voice dropping to a whisper that was far more terrifying than her scream. "You lied about Hope, you lied about Adam, you even lied about your own death. But I always believed that at your core, there was a part of you that was mine. A part that was honest." She looked at the portrait of Victor hanging above the mantel, the king of Genoa City. "I look at you now," she continued, "and I don't see a king. I see a scared little boy from the orphanage who is so afraid of being poor again that he'll betray the only person who truly loves him just to see a higher number on a balance sheet. That is enough." Victor slammed his glass onto the side table. "I built this. Everything you have, everything this family is, exists because I had the stomach to do what others wouldn't." "Then you can keep it," Nikki said coldly. "The house, the horses, the empire. You can have it all, Victor. Because if my signature is so easy for you to forge, then clearly, I am already a ghost in this house." The aftermath. Nikki turned her back on him and walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" Victor called out, the first hint of genuine panic bleeding into his voice. "Nikki, come back here." She didn't stop. She didn't look back. She walked out into the cool Genoa City night, the heavy oak doors clicking shut behind her. For the first time in years, the great Victor Newman was left standing in his golden living room, surrounded by his riches, his secrets, and an echoing silence that sounded a lot like a final goodbye. The lies were shattered. And as Nikki drove away from the ranch, she realized that for the first time in a long time, she could finally left the residents of Genoa City reeling and longtime fans of the young and the restless in absolute shock. The ghost of Christmas past has arrived early. And he has a face that no one expected to see again. The Newman family has just been rocked by the ultimate bombshell. Matt Clark is alive. For over 2 decades, Matt Clark was a name whispered in hushed, fearful tones. A villain who met his end in 2001 after a campaign of terror that nearly dismantled the Newman dynasty. But as we've learned in the high-stakes world of daytime drama, death is often just a temporary leave of absence. The resurrection of a nightmare. The return of Matt Clark, now portrayed by daytime legend Roger Howarth, wasn't a slow burn, it was a tactical strike. For weeks, a mysterious figure known as Mitch Bacall had been lurking on the periphery of the Newmans' lives in Los Angeles. He was a successful club owner, the husband of the enigmatic Sienna Bacall, Tamara Braun, and an influential mentor to Noah Newman. The bombshell dropped when Sharon Newman, following a trail of breadcrumbs after Noah's suspicious car accident, came face-to-face with the man her son called Mitch. The recognition was instantaneous and visceral. This wasn't just a business associate. This was the man who had raped her, framed Nick for murder, and tormented her family for years. A decades-old rivalry reimagined. The weight of Matt's return cannot be overstated. When Matt Clark first arrived in 1994, he was the ultimate high school antagonist to Nick and Sharon. His obsession with Sharon led to a series of horrific crimes, culminating in a dramatic exit where he supposedly pulled his own breathing tube to frame Nick for his death. By returning as Mitch Bacall, Matt has proven that his penchant for manipulation has only sharpened with age. He has successfully gaslit everyone around him, claiming that Matt Clark is a name he doesn't know, while simultaneously tightening his grip on the next generation of Newmans. Why this return is different? The alias. Operating as Mitch Bacall allowed Matt to infiltrate Noah's life without raising alarms, proving he has traded raw rage for calculated strategy. The connection to Sienna Bacall, who truly believes she is married to Mitch, is now caught in the crossfire of a war she didn't know existed. The son's safety. The stakes are higher than ever because Matt's target isn't just Sharon or Nick. It's their son Noah, whom Matt has already attempted to kill once in a staged crash. The Newman family reaction. The fallout in Genoa City has been explosive. Victor Newman, ever the protector, has already signaled that he will go to any lengths to eliminate the threat. However, the psychological toll on Sharon is the true heart of this story. For her, Matt represents a trauma she thought she had finally buried. Seeing him standing in the foyer of the athletic club wasn't just a plot twist. It was a re-traumatization that has sent her into a protective fury. Nick Newman, meanwhile, is grappling with the guilt of not seeing the signs sooner. He and Noah have already begun amping up security at the ranch, but as Victor himself noted, the ranch is only as safe as the secrets we keep. What happens next? As we head into the final weeks of 2025, the tension is reaching a breaking point. Matt is no longer hiding. He is physically back in town, standing on the doorstep of the people he hates most. With the Abbott Communications launch party serving as a backdrop for the next phase of his plan, no one is safe. The looming questions remain. How did Matt survive the death witnessed by everyone in 2001? Is Sienna truly an innocent victim? Or does she know more about her husband's past than she's letting on? Will Sharon be the one to finally end Matt Clark's reign of terror, this time for good? The Newman family has faced many enemies, from Ian Ward to Jordan Howard, but Matt Clark is personal. He is the original sin of the Nick and Sharon love story, and his return promises to be the most explosive holiday season Genoa City has seen off Lake Michigan felt heavier than usual, clinging to the brick facades of Chancellor Park like a shroud. In Genoa City, silence rarely meant peace. It usually meant the players were catching their breath before the next strike. The atmosphere at the athletic club was electric with whispered rumors and sharp glances. The air was thick with the scent of expensive bourbon and even more expensive secrets. The unlikely pact. In a shadowed corner booth, far from the prying eyes of the gossip columnists, an alliance was forming that would have been unthinkable 6 months ago. Victor Newman, the indomitable patriarch of Newman Enterprises, sat across from Jack Abbott. The lifelong rivals didn't shake hands, that would be too much, but the shared look of grim determination spoke volumes. A new player had entered the scene. A shadowy venture capital firm known as Aurelius Holdings, which had been quietly snapping up shell companies linked to both Newman and Jabot. The enemy of my enemy is a temporary business partner, Jack, Victor rumbled, his voice like gravel. But don't mistake this for friendship. Jack leaned in, his face hardened. I don't need a friend, Victor. I need to ensure my family's legacy isn't dismantled by a ghost. My sources say Aurelius is headed by someone with a very old grudge against this town. Tensions at Crimson Lights. Across town, the tension was more personal than professional. Sharon Newman wiped down the counter at Crimson Lights, her eyes darting to the door every time the bell chimed. The news of Jordan's possible sighting on the outskirts of town had the entire community on edge. Nick Newman walked in, his shoulders tight with stress. He didn't need to say a word, Sharon already knew. Security is doubled at the ranch and the main houses. The kids are being shadowed by plainclothes guards. The GCPD is stretched thin, investigating a series of glitches in the city's surveillance grid. It feels like we're being watched by 1,000 eyes, Nick, Sharon whispered, handing him a coffee he forgot to order. It's not just Jordan. It's the feeling that the ground is shifting under us. Power plays at Chancellor Winters. While the Newmans and Abbotts braced for external threats, Chancellor Winters was facing an internal civil war. Devin Hamilton Winters and Billy Abbott were locked in a boardroom stalemate that threatened to tear the company apart. Key player current stance hidden motive Devin protective of the Winters legacy, wants total control. Fearing the loss of Neil's vision to corporate greed. Billy pushing for aggressive tech expansion. Trying to prove he's more than just the screw-up Abbott. Lily the mediator caught in the crossfire. Secretly considering a solo venture to escape the drama. The tension reached a breaking point when a leaked memo revealed that Billy had been taking private meetings with a representative from, you guessed it, Aurelius Holdings. To Devin, it looked like treason. To Billy, it was due diligence. The fallout left the company vulnerable, a bleeding wound in a city full of sharks. A new mystery emerges. As night fell, a sleek black sedan pulled up to the GCAC valet. A woman stepped out, her face obscured by a wide-brimmed hat and oversized sunglasses. She didn't check in under her own name. In her suite, she opened a laptop. The screen flickered with a map of Genoa City, dotted with red icons over the Newman Ranch, the Abbott Estate, and the Grand Phoenix. She picked up a burner phone and dialed a number that shouldn't exist. The board is set, she said, her voice cool and unfamiliar. Victor and Jack are talking. Just as we planned. They think they're defending their empires, but they're actually building the walls of their own prison. The gathering storm. The high alert wasn't just a headline in the GC Chronicle. It was a physical weight. At Society, Abby noticed the staff was jittery, dropping plates and missing cues. At the police station, Chance Chancellor pored over cold cases, realizing that the glitches in the city's security weren't random. They were a countdown. In the underground, whispers of a new syndicate moving in began to surface, threatening the balance of the city's nightlife and its darker undercurrents. The alliances were shifting. Enemies were becoming allies, and family members were becoming strangers. As the clock struck midnight, a sudden blackout hit the downtown core. For 10 seconds, Genoa City was plunged into total darkness. When the lights flickered back on, the landscape had changed. A prominent figure was missing, a vault had been emptied, and a single black rose was left on the steps of
Genoa City
is thick with tension as we head into the weekend. This Friday on The Young and the Restless, the lines between love and control blur, and a celebration meant to bridge gaps ends up creating a wider chasm. From the heights of the Newman Towers to the cozy corners of society, protective instincts are kicking into overdrive, and a high-stakes party is about to go off the rails. Nick's internal war. The burden of protection. Nick Newman has always seen himself as the moral compass of the Newman clan, even when his own compass spins wildly. This Friday, his protective instincts regarding Sharon reach a fever pitch. While Sharon insists she is finding her footing and managing her mental health with precision, Nick can't shake the feeling that she's standing on a precipice. Expect a tense confrontation between Nick and Sharon at Crimson Lights. Nick, fueled by a mix of genuine concern and his habitual need to fix things, pushes too hard. The conflict. Nick suggests Sharon step back from some of her responsibilities. The reaction. Sharon, feeling patronized, reminds Nick that she isn't a project to be managed. The fallout. This friction leaves Nick feeling isolated in his worry, potentially leading him to make a clandestine alliance with someone Sharon specifically told him to stay away from. Phyllis and the art of the helpful sabotage. Across town, Phyllis Summers is dealing with her own version of protective instincts. Her target? Summer. Phyllis remains convinced that Kyle is a ticking time bomb and that Summer's current professional trajectory is a trap. Phyllis decides to take matters into her own hands by vetting a new business associate of Summer's. Of course, vetting in Phyllis speak usually involves digital breaking and entering or a highly orchestrated, accidental meeting. Friday sees Phyllis cornering Michael Baldwin for legal advice that is thinly veiled as a request for dirt. Michael, ever the voice of reason, warns her that her meddling will only push Summer further away. But when has Phyllis ever listened to reason when her mama bear claws are out? The party problems, a soiree of secrets. The centerpiece of Friday's episode is the much-anticipated Abbott Chancellor mixer. Intended to celebrate a new joint venture and project an image of family unity, the event quickly descends into a masterclass in passive aggression. The Billy and Kyle Cold War. The tension between Billy and Kyle is palpable the moment they occupy the same zip code. Despite Jack's pleas for a ceasefire for the cameras, the two can't help but trade barbs. The trigger. A toast that Billy makes, which Kyle perceives as a direct slight against his contributions to the company. The escalation. Watch for a heated exchange in the coat room that threatens to spill out into the main ballroom, forcing Diane to play peacemaker, a role she is increasingly exhausted by. Victor's shadow. Victor Newman makes an appearance at the party, not out of festive spirit, but to remind everyone who truly holds the power in Genoa City. His presence is a party problem in itself. He spends the evening planting seeds of doubt in the minds of the Abbott board members, subtly suggesting that the current leadership might be unstable. A house divided against itself cannot stand, Jack. And your house looks like it has a few cracks in the foundation. Victor Newman. Audra's calculated move. While the Abbotts and Newmans bicker, Audra Charles is playing a different game. She uses the chaos of the party to further her own agenda. Friday shows Audra cornering Nate Hastings. She knows Nate is feeling undervalued, and she offers him a hypothetical scenario that sounds suspiciously like a coup at Chancellor Winters. Audra's protective instinct is reserved entirely for her own career, and she sees the current instability as the perfect ladder. Will Nate bite, or will his loyalty to Devin and Lily hold firm? The look in his eyes suggests he's at least willing to listen to the pitch. As the party winds down and the champagne starts to go flat, the doors swing open for one final guest that no one invited. The look of pure shock on Jack Abbott's face tells us everything we need to know. The weekend is going to be a long one. The episode ends on a lingering shot of this mystery guest, whose presence promises to unravel the fragile peace Jack has been trying to maintain. Is it a ghost from the past, or a new enemy
sun-drenched
ready to
offices
strike.
of Newman Enterprises usually hummed with the quiet vibration of high-stakes mergers and family drama. But today, the air in Victor Newman's executive suite was brittle. On the wall-to-wall monitors, a video was playing, one that should have been impossible. It showed Victor himself, sitting in his iconic leather chair, calmly announcing that he was stepping down and handing the entire conglomerate over to Jack Abbott. The voice was unmistakable. The gravelly resonance, the precise cadence, the predatory stillness. "I've spent a lifetime building this empire," the digital Victor said, his eyes crinkling in a way that looked hauntingly human. "But it's time for the Newman lion to sleep. Jack, the keys are yours." The real Victor Newman clicked the remote, his face a mask of granite. "Nikki," he barked, "get Nick and Victoria in here. Now." The rise of the deepfake. In Genoa City, secrets have always been the primary currency. But in the age of artificial intelligence, the truth was becoming bankrupt. The video was a deepfake, a sophisticated AI-generated mimicry created using thousands of hours of Victor's public speeches and private board meetings. Victoria Newman arrived first, her heels clicking like gunfire on the marble floor. "Dad, the stock is already plummeting. Jabot's board is in an emergency session, and the internet thinks you've lost your mind, or your soul." "It's not just a video, sis," Nick said, entering behind her, his eyes glued to his tablet. "I just got a voicemail from you telling me to sell my shares of New Hope to an offshore holding company. If I hadn't seen you in the hallway 5 minutes ago, I would have signed the digital papers." The threat was clear. AI wasn't just a tool for efficiency, it was a weapon for corporate identity theft. The Chancellor Winters algorithm. Across town at Chancellor Winters, Devin Hamilton and Lily Winters were facing a different kind of algorithmic nightmare. They had recently integrated OmniMind, a cutting-edge AI designed to predict market trends and consumer behavior. At first, it was a miracle. The AI suggested a pivot into green energy that netted the company millions. But then, the AI started making decisions that felt personal. "Devin, look at this," Lily whispered, pointing to a proprietary report. The AI just flagged Mamie's recent stock purchases as high-risk internal threats. "It's recommending we freeze her access to the building." "It's an algorithm, Lily. It doesn't have a bias," Devin argued, though he sounded unconvinced. "But it does," Lily countered. "It's trained on historical data. If that data includes decades of family feuds and corporate backstabbing in Genoa City, the AI isn't predicting the future. It's automating our past grudges." The AI had become a digital ghost of Catherine Chancellor, but without her heart. It was cold, calculating, and beginning to suggest personnel adjustments that looked a lot like a coup. The Jabot breach. At the Abbott mansion, Jack was reeling. He wasn't the one behind the Victor video, but he was the primary suspect. "Diane, I didn't do this," he insisted. "I want to beat Victor, but I want to do it fairly." "I believe you, Jack," Diane Jenkins said, her eyes narrowing. "But someone is using AI to frame you. And they aren't just targeting the Newmans." She turned her laptop around. Someone had used a large language model, LLM, to scrape Jack's private emails from the last decade. The AI had then synthesized a lost chapter of his memoir, a chapter filled with fabricated scandals and cruel remarks about Kyle and Tracy. It was being leaked page by page to the Restless style. The AI wasn't just stealing money, it was hallucinating a reality where Jack Abbott was a monster. The shadow coder. The source of the chaos sat in a darkened room at the GC Athletic Club. It wasn't a rival CEO or a disgruntled ex-lover. It was a young, brilliant coder named Audra Charles, working in the shadows. She wasn't interested in the companies. She was interested in the data sovereignty. "They think their names mean something," Audra whispered to the glowing screens. "But they're just patterns, vectors in a high-dimensional space." She had deployed a swarm of autonomous agents, small AI programs designed to find the cracks in the Genoa City elite's digital lives. She had bypassed the security at Society, recording private conversations to feed her models. She had hacked the smart home systems at the ranch, turning Victor's own security cameras into data harvesting tools. The counterstrike, human intuition. As the week progressed, Genoa City was on the brink of collapse. The Newman-Abbott feud had reached a fever pitch, fueled by AI-generated insults and faked financial records. The resolution didn't come from a better computer program. It came from the one thing AI couldn't replicate: shared history. Victor and Jack met in the park. No phones, no mics, just two men who had fought for 40 years. "The video said I was giving you the company, Jack," Victor said, his eyes scanning the trees for drones. The AI got the voice right. It even got the way I hold my pen right. But, Jack asked. It called you Jack, Victor smirked. In a moment like that, I would have called you Abbott. It lacked the spite. It lacked the history. Jack nodded. And the emails I wrote about Kyle? They used the word synergy. I've never used that word in my life. It's a corporate buzzword. I'm a chemist and a poet, Victor. They realized that the AI was a perfect mirror, but a mirror has no depth. It could mimic the surface, but it couldn't understand the emotional context of a 30-year rivalry. The new normal. The Newmans and Abbotts formed an uneasy alliance to hunt down the digital insurgent. They hired Kevin Fisher, the city's original tech wizard, to build a digital signature system. A way to verify that every video, call, and email was truly from a human. They eventually traced the signals back to Audra, but by the time they arrived at her suite, she was gone, leaving behind only a single message on the screen. The model is trained. You can't delete the data. Genoa City would never be the same. The threats were no longer just about who was sleeping with whom or who was the secret heir. The new threat was invisible. It was the young and the restless versus the fast and the artificial. As Victor sat back in his office, he looked at a framed photo of his family. He realized that in a world where anyone could be faked, the only thing that mattered was being there in person, where the AI couldn't reach. Nikki, he said into the intercom, cancel my Zoom calls. From now on, if someone wants to talk to me, they do it face to face. And tell them to bring their own pen.